Welcome to Seclusion Vibe. This video concerns do-it-yourself construction of sunshades or sunscreens for a Honda Element used for car camping. It can be applied to virtually any vehicle. I don't have any long introductions to make or obnoxious music to play, so let's get started.
Grommet tool and grommets, window material, marker, suction cups. First, I'm going to lay the material out folded over. Again, this material is black on one side and reflective silver on the other. I've also gone out and made some very rough measurements of my window using a grease pencil and a bar napkin to make my initial cuts. I actually do some of my best work using only a grease pencil and a bar napkin. If you give me those two things and 3 beers, I can sketch you anything, or write you, or tell you anything. I can tell you who killed Kennedy. Maybe even who killed Tupac. Next, using my rough measurements, I'm going to cut the material into the size of squares or rectangles that I need. If you don't have a grommet tool and grommets, which most people don't, I did not until I decided to do this project, you can do it without one. You can put duct tape on both sides of the material that you're working with and simply punch a hole in it. That said, you're not going to have as much longevity out of the final product. I figured this was a tool that I was going to reuse. It was not expensive. I decided just to buy it. The material that I chose to use for this project was intended as a blackout system for home windows, particularly for those who have an infant, to help the baby sleep better. It's extremely thin, so one side is reflective silver, which goes outside, and one is black. I chose that so I could, which I'll show you later, so I could reverse them in the summer and the winter to either retain heat or reflect heat. Now, if I was doing this again, I would probably buy something a little bit thicker. This is paper thin, less than paper thin. It feels very, very durable. I think with the grommets, it's going to work. But I might get something a little bit thicker if I did this again. These are the suction cups I chose. They're roughly 1.5 inches. It's a plastic suction cup with a metal screw back. And they have a plastic fastener that screws on here. And that plastic fastener is just slightly larger than the grommets that I'm going to install on the sunscreens that I'm currently making for the Honda Element. This is a system you could leave in place and you could only unscrew the fastener to take the screen off, or you could just pull the suction cups off. I first tried measuring these windows, but they have quite a few funny curves in them, and that proved a little bit difficult. So I'm just going to take the material, put it up against the window, and trace a pattern for each one. It's not perfect, but it should do the trick. Now that I've traced a pattern, I'm going to cut the first ones out. Alright, the first cuts are finished. I'm going to take those out to the car to ensure fit before cutting the second set. I'm now going to use the pieces that I've already cut as a jig to cut the opposing piece. So I'm placing both pieces reflective side in so I can trace on the reflective side. That way they will mirror each other and can be swapped to either side of the car depending on if I want the black side out or the reflective side out. Now that I've finished cutting out the duplicates, I'm going to put them in the dryer for about 2 minutes on very low heat. This will get rid of the creases. Before installing the grommets, I'm going to clean up these rough edges by lining each panel with a special type of sunshade tape. And that brings us to the sponsor of this video. Sunshade tape. It's duct tape. The duct tape job turned out surprisingly better than I thought it would. Until you turn it over to the reflective side, then it looks like a piece of reflective fabric with a bunch of duct tape on it. Alright, the taping is done. That took a lot longer than I expected. It's time now for the grommets. So I got the grommets in. I don't know if it was because I was using a cheap grommet tool, the punch that is, or working with fabric that was not meant to accept grommets, which this fabric was not. But it did really cinch up like that. So it's a little bit ugly, but I think it should get the job done.
Just a quick recap, the things that I would have done differently. I would have considered a thicker material. The thin material that I used does roll up very nicely. It's very easy to store. I would have tried something more along the lines of the hole punch when installing the grommets. I used an owl. That did not really work. I said owl. I did not use an owl. That would be horrible. It's a horrible idea. That did lead to the crinkling that you saw in the video. So you might be able to get a cleaner install using something like that. And finally, if you can find somebody that makes these commercially, please let everyone know in the comments section. If you did find something commercially made, specific to a Honda Element or your vehicle, I would strongly consider purchasing it. You're not really going to save too much money doing it this way, and it is a lot of time. Though it's a fairly easy project, anyone can do it. Thanks again for watching. And if you get lost, we might run into each other on the trail.